Hey animation fans, this is Rabbit's blog of Animation Bliss, and welcome to another Spotlight Cartoon Corner. So today's Spotlight cartoon we'll be focusing on today is Wolverine the X-Men. Now, Wolverine the X-Men was like the was like at the time the most recent X-Men cartoon that came out, and it came out in 2008 or 2009 on Nicktoons Network. And what this show was well known for was it was focusing a lot on Wolverine, and it also adapted some of the current storylines that were going on in the X-Men comics at the time. So what is this series all about? Well, this series is all the series started off with Jean Grey, Professor Xavier, having like some kind of painful psychic reaction to a mysterious force, and the school ends up getting blown up. And a few years later, the X Men broke up because of the explosion that happened at the school, and later on Wolverine gets this psychic message from Professor Xavier from the future, and Professor Xavier tells Wolverine that the Sentinels are going to start attacking the X-Men and the world itself, and that only Wolverine's the only one who can save the world from the Sentinels that's about to attack in the near future. So Wolverine goes out and tries to recruit the X-Men and get them back together so they could go ahead and defeat this threat, the Sentinels that's going to threaten humankind and mutant kind in the near future. So that's basically the gist of the show is Wolverine trying to prevent a bad future from happening. And he's trying to recruit all the X-Men so that way they can all stop this bad future from happening. So what are my thoughts about the show? Well, I have some things that I liked about the show and things that I hated about the show, but let's start with the things that I liked about the show. Um so what did I like about the show? I like the fact that this show actually adapted some of the current X-Men storylines that were going on at the time. Like I like the fact that it explored Emma Frost and Cyclops' relationship in this TV series, when the previous X-Men TV series pretty much explored Cyclops' relationship with Jean Grey. Well, this series also explores Cyclops' relationship with Jean Grey, but more so with Emma Frost than it did with Jean Grey. So because Jean Grey is like pretty much disappeared throughout this entire series. But anyway, I like the fact that this TV series did adapt some of the current X-Men storylines at the time, and actually did their own thing with the characters and did their own thing with some of the storylines being introduced. Like they did their own thing with the Dark Phoenix saga. It's like a reverse of what happened in that storyline. They also explored some more of Wolverine's backstory about his time in Weapon X, and again, there were some things that were a lot different in this universe than it was in the original comics. And I really liked the fact that they actually explore like a lot of different topics for this show, versus like what they were exploring in the comics. Another thing I did like about the show was that I like how they made Wolverine the leader this time around. Like usually when you see a lot of X-Men cartoons, Cyclops is the leader, but this was the first X-Men cartoon that actually made Wolverine the leader, and it was interesting to see Wolverine actually lead the X-Men this time in this TV series, and we get to see what Wolverine's like when he's the leader. Like in this TV series, he's obviously a lot more mature than he was in the previous cartoon series. Well, X-Men Evolution, I would say he was pretty mature too, since he was one of the teachers. But I think they did a good job with making Wolverine like kind of mature in the series as he tries to lead the X-Men, and I really like the fact that we actually get to do something a lot different with this series than we do with the previous X-Men cartoons, where Wolverine's actually the leader instead of Cyclops. So I really like the fact that they made Wolverine the leader in this series, and just exploring what would happen if Wolverine became the leader. Well, this came out at a time before Wolverine became the leader in the comics, and he's a leader in the comics now. But at the time when this show came out, that wasn't a possibility at the time. But it was interesting to see Wolverine as in a leadership role in this TV series. I also like their portrayal of Nightcrawler, even though he didn't really show up that much in this series. But I like the fact that they made Nightcrawler too like this swashbuckling character who's like really good at fighting his enemies, and I like his relationship with Scarlet Witch in this universe. And it was really interesting to see Nightcrawler get some character time in this TV series, and see what he's really capable of when he's fighting. Now, here's some things I didn't like about the show, and this big reason I'm about to explain is like a big issue for me. I didn't like the fact that the other X-Men didn't get a lot of focus in this TV series. Like, it was all about Wolverine. I understand the show was called Wolverine and the X-Men, but I mean, I've seen other cartoon series like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Sonic the Hedgehog, and many others that had the lead character and the lead character's name in the title, but they at least still tried to focus on everybody else as in the cast. It wasn't just this one character. It was like this whole ensemble of characters in this one show. So I was really disappointed that we didn't get a lot of focus on the other X-Men. We didn't get a lot of focus on Kitty Pryde. We didn't get a lot of focus on Beast. We didn't get a lot of focus on Nightcrawler. We also didn't get a lot of focus on Cyclops. Well, Cyclops, I would say, is one of the few characters who gets some kind of focus in this series because it focuses on his relationship with Jean Grey and how he's suffering without her. But I would have loved to see the other X-Men like Iceman and Kitty Pryde and Beast actually do something in this series. Like, they actually have more character development or actually do something that would make them stand out. And I felt like this series kind of failed at doing that. I understand it was just one season, but still, I would have liked it if they had actually showcased the other X-Men a lot more instead of just focusing everything on Wolverine. And maybe that's what we would have gotten in the future seasons if the show wasn't canceled. Another thing I didn't like about the show is that it seems like it jumped around so much about what kind of stories they want to tell. Like, you have some stories that involve the future Sentinels, you have other storylines that involve the Dark Phoenix, and then you have some storylines that involve Mr. Sinister. It's like you got several different storylines going on in one season, and it was kind of confusing to know, what were they really focusing on? What was this whole season really about? Now, the big story of the season was Wolverine trying to prevent a bad future from happening. But I felt like they could have tried to make everything wrap around that a bit better instead of putting all these different storylines into one season and making it a lot confusing for us to see what storyline they're really focusing in the season. So that was one of my biggest gripes with this series, is that there was just like so many things happening in the first season, and I was guessing they were trying to jam a lot of story plots they were going to explore with a bit further in the later seasons, but they never got that chance. And the last thing I didn't like was that the show got canceled before they introduced some of the other X-Men characters into the cast. Like, they were going to introduce Colossus. Everybody knows I'm a huge Colossus fan, and they were going to make Colossus one of the major characters in the show, and then the show had to go and get canceled before it had a chance to really introduce Colossus. And they were going to introduce other characters too into the X-Men cast, like Jubilee and Magic and many others, but Colossus! I really love Colossus. This would have been the first X-Men series that had Colossus as a major character, and the show had to go and get canceled before that happened. So yeah, you can see how upset I am about that, because I love Colossus, and this would have been the first X-Men series that had Colossus as a main character. But yeah, because the show got canceled, there was a lot of storylines that weren't really explored. A lot of characters didn't get explored. I bet if the show had went on a little longer, I think the other X-Men characters would have developed a bit better if the show had went on a little longer. Because I will admit, having trying to develop all those characters in one season is going to be kind of tough if you're not used to like writing so many characters into one season. But yeah, I'm kind of upset the show got canceled because there was going to be a lot of storylines they wanted to explore, and they never had the chance to really explore it. So what are my thoughts about this TV series, Wolverine the X-Men? I think you should check it out. If you're a huge X-Men fan, or if you're a huge Wolverine fan especially, you might enjoy this show. I thought it was a pretty decent show. Did I think it was like the best X-Men TV show I ever seen? No, I think that one goes to X-Men the anime series, but then some people said X-Men Evolution was the best X-Men series. But again, it depends on each person. But for me, I like X-Men the anime series the best. But yeah, I still think you should definitely check out this series if you're a huge X-Men fan or a huge Wolverine fan. It's a pretty decent series, and you should definitely go check it out. Well, that's my review on Wolverine the X-Men, and be sure to follow us on Twitter so we can keep you updated on any new videos we post up, and also like our Facebook page. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Ravida's blog of Animation Bliss, and I'll see you later.